SOSG, standing on solid ground. Hello, this is Kim Jones with Standing on Solid Ground. I am the host of this inspirational, motivational podcast. Today, my next layer is endurance. To endure during difficult times, during hard times, during bad times, during the times where you just don't know which way to go or who to look to, or if you can even ask anybody for help. Because sometimes when you ask someone for help, you often find that they need help as well. I am focusing more and more on the depths of my standing ground, my solid ground, and the layers that I am building towards building this solid ground to be stronger and much more endurable for any process or any challenge that I am faced with. In the beginning is faith, then patience, hope, obedience, experience, and now endurance. And endurance and patience often work hand in hand because during the times that you're facing challenges, you must have a lot of patience and be still and know that your answers will come, that your problems will be resolved. Has anybody ever sat back and think about what happened last year? I mean, other than COVID-19 and the many individuals that lost their lives, those that have been sick, those that have been seriously in critical condition in the hospitals. But if you look at last year and you stop and you think about today, is today better than it was last year? Is today more hopeful or more challenging? I sometimes have to sit back and ask myself, is today better than yesterday? Or is this week better than last week? And if my answer is yes, then I need to be thankful that this week is better than it was last week. But if I say no, then I have to ask myself, what is it that I am doing or I am not doing that I need to be doing to make it better? Sometimes it starts with me. Sometimes it begins with what is missing in my life, what I am not doing. So I step back and I look at the whole picture. Did I endure? Did I have the faith? Was I patient? Did I stay hopeful? Did I obey? These questions I ask myself because standing on this solid ground, it is so important to me that I stay focused on God. God is my solid ground. Jesus is my rock that I'm building on. I am building all of these layers on this rock. And this is where my structure, my strength, my hope, my faith, my patience, all of this is built upon. To endure. I read in the Bible where it says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy will come in the morning. And sometimes when I think about it when I was younger, I said, well, how is it that I'm crying tonight and tomorrow comes, I'm still feeling bad? The joy in knowing that you have another day. You endured through the night. You cried. You suffered. You feel like it was the worst day of your life, but you endured. I remember January 29th, 2010, when I received a call from my father telling me that my mother had passed away at 2 a.m. in the morning. I was so sick in my stomach. I wasn't thinking straight. I put on my coat. I walked across the driveway because my parents and I lived next door to one another. And I came through the back door and I listened to my father cry, and it hurt me so bad. And I listened to him saying, "Well, I just got to do what I got to do, but I need your help." I didn't know if I was going to be able to endure. I didn't know what kind of help I could be to my father. I didn't know what to do. We hadn't lost anyone in our family since 1975. So it's been some time, some years that passed by. I went back home. He saw me back home, and I had to wake up my oldest child to let him know that his grandmother had passed. And my brothers were called by my father to let them know that she was gone. And we kept asking ourselves, how are we going to endure? How are we going to get through this? That was a painful, painful moment for us. That Friday was the longest Friday of our lives. We didn't think that Friday was going to ever end because we were hurt. We were in pain. We were in shock. So as the days went on, day by day, my dad and I made the arrangements, and we went and picked out a plot in the cemetery, and we were getting clothes over there. And my best friend, and I called her my sister. She's no longer with us, but that's another story. She helped me with the program, and we got through. We endured. That was tough. That was a tough situation for us. And the process was hard to obtain. It was hard to just accept. We went to the hospital to pick up her things. And I remember my dad carrying the suitcase, and I'm like, we brought her to the hospital to get better, and we're walking out with just a bag. That was the emptiest feeling we all had. Well, as we continued on our day, and we walked and we talked with one another, and a week later we had the funeral. I remember looking at my dad, and he just looked so sad. And I did everything that I knew how to do to try to lift his spirits or conversate with him. But it was hard. It was a hard thing for me to watch him go through. And all of a sudden, he started getting sick. His stomach started bothering him. And of course, I knew I had to keep a watchful eye on him and make sure that he was taken care of. And I took him to the hospital, and he was healthy, but I believe that he was hurt. He was torn apart. This was 40 years of marriage that he no longer has. This woman he has had in his life, that he has taken care of, he has had children with, he has argued with, he has loved, and now she's no more. All we could do is visit a cemetery, her tombstone. Well, here it is, almost 11 years later. Next Friday, January the 29th of 2021, will be 11 years since my mother has left this earth. We endured. God brought us through it. The pain is still there, but it doesn't hurt as much. Of course, I miss her. I miss her dearly. I miss the conversations. I miss her being mad at me sometimes. I miss her asking me to fix her hair or to go to the store for or fix something for her. I miss that. I miss that laughter. And she had a unique laugh, trust me. She had one of those laughs that was contagious because everybody would start laughing and they don't even know what they were laughing at because that's just how happy she was. But she can be mean too. She can be a pistol to work with. But when I sit down and I think about it, I endured. I got through it. When you think about having a baby, when a woman is in travail or in labor, and you're waiting for that moment to see this little face, but what you have to endure, it can be more than what a person think that they can handle. And the woman go through that pain and suffering trying to get this little person brought into the world. You endured. Or when going to high school for the first time, you're a freshman in high school and you the little fish in a big pond now, and you don't think that you can get through that freshman year because either you're being picked on or being looked at as being strange or weird or a wimp or whatever the case may be. You know, kids have ways of attacking those that they don't know instead of learning about that person. You study hard. You concentrate on your work. You do whatever it takes to get through. You try to find that spot where you are being noticed and not criticized, but rewarded for the good things that you're doing. And ninth grade ended and you're now a sophomore. You endured. And then when you graduated from high school and you look back and you say, I endured high school, and you're facing college, you got through it. Endurance is so many different levels. You can look at endurance in so many different ways. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're facing. You can think about the times where you didn't know how you were going to pay a bill, or you can look at how you're not going to be able to get your child through college, but you endure. You look forward to tomorrow. You have to have a different approach. You have to think about things in a different light. Don't look at the negativity. Look at something positive. It may not be working right now, but I'm going to get through this. It might not be paid today, but there's always tomorrow. I remember speaking in a previous episode, when you open up your eyes and you see another day, you have hope. In hope, you have patience. You have to be patient and let things work itself out. It's almost like a ball of yarn and the thread gets all knotted up and tangled up, and you have to have patience to untangle those knots. Those that have the patience to untangle it will find greater rewards than those that just throw it and toss it to the side and just say, oh, forget it, I'm not going to work with this, and give up. I'm the one that will untangle the knots. I have tangled up many things in my life. I have many webs that have been caught with me in it because I didn't take the right approach. I didn't do the right things. And the web snared me. I got caught up in it. And that's when I looked to God to clip by clip relieve me from that web and get me out of it. And I always tell myself, I'm not going to get myself back in this situation again. And then when I find myself back in the situation again, I ask myself, okay, what did I do wrong this time? I didn't wait. I wasn't patient. I didn't endure the time frame that God has set aside for me to receive that blessing. I try to bless myself. And in blessing myself, I got caught in the web again. And so God, string by string, is cutting me out. Each snip is one less hold that web has on me. That once I'm released again, instead of saying, I'm not going to get myself back in this web again, I'm going to ask the Lord, help me stay away from any more webs. I don't want to be tangled anymore. You have to change your thought process. You have to change your ways of doing things and not give up. Don't walk away. Don't just say, oh, I'll just give up. I don't want to be bothered with this anymore. You're going to face that web again. I always tell my children, whatever problem you have now, face it. Face it now, because it's going to come back again. You're never going to escape it. You're never going to be able to get rid of it. It will find you. And my daughter found that out. She found it out when she avoided paying a bill. And the bill collector came looking for her. And she realized, oh man, I have to pay this. Yes, you're going to have to pay this. You can't escape it. They will find you. And I've learned that lesson myself. That years later, they may not get you right away, but 10, 12 years later, they're going to send you something in the mail. You owe this. And you're like, where did this bill come from? You're like, oh yeah, I remember. It's that web that you weaved. And now you got caught back up in that snare. But instead of trying to get out of it and run away from it, deal with it. And that is all about endurance. You have to endure. No matter how much it hurts, no matter how difficult it may be, no matter how long it may take you, endure it. Because once you're finished with it, you're done. You don't have to see that situation anymore. You don't have to go back to that situation anymore. If you choose to go back, that's what you choose to do. But it's not because it came looking for you. You went looking for it. It reminds me of a alcoholic or a drug addict. They'll go through the process of rehab. They will be sober for years. But all of a sudden, they go back to that web. See, they broke away from the web. They were sober. They stayed away from the drugs. They stayed away from the alcohol. They stayed away from whatever addiction they found themselves caught in. But some kind of way, they find themselves going back to it. It's not that the web looked for them. They looked for the web, and they got snared and got caught up in it. And sometimes, when you get caught up in that snare, the only way out is death, unfortunately. And I've seen that happen. I've watched it happen on many episodes. I am a autopsy type of person. I love watching autopsies. And when you find out that a drug or alcohol or a bullet wound or a stab wound, whatever the case may be, when these things happen, it is the cause of death. They got caught in a web. So, my most important factor in endurance is this. Go through the pain. You don't like it. You don't like the struggle. It's like rehab after you've broken a leg or broken an arm or you had surgery, knee surgery, hip surgery. The pain is excruciating, but you will endure. And once you endure the pain and you get your mobility back and you're able to use that limb again, then you can look back and say, hey, I got through it. I made it. I endured. It's a victory. It's a victory when you endured something. You endured labor pains. You gave birth. You have a beautiful child that you're holding in your arms. You endured. You endured high school. You graduated. You endured it. You got through. You made it. And that's what endurance is all about. You have to have patience, and you will conquer the victory. But you have to stick with it no matter what. No matter what. I look at the doctors and I look at the attorneys and the nurses and all that they have to endure to get to that pedestal that they're trying to reach. You go through a lot. I watched many, or a couple, I won't say many, but a couple of Supreme Court justices and the trials that they went through and the questionings that they go through and the obstacles that they have to face. But with their patience, they endured. And it works hand in hand. I am going to say that we can endure anything if we put our mind to it, especially if it's right for us. If it's purpose for us to have, we'll have it. We have to have faith. We have to have patience. We have to have hope. We have to be obedient. We have to experience the trials and the tribulations. That experience works in there as well. And then when we have that, we can endure. We have endured. This is Kim Jones with Standing on Solid Ground. I thank you so much for being with me. I thank you for listening to me. And I hope that these podcasts are an inspiration to your life and it motivates you and inspire you. I do appreciate all that you do, and I appreciate all that you have done. When you take the time to listen, I appreciate you and I thank you. Until next time, I will say God bless you, God keep you.